Hey guys, Matt here again, and today we're going to be working on a 2000 Jeep Wrangler. It's right here. This is my wonderful, wonderful Jeep. Love this thing. What we're doing today is changing out a fuel pump. Alright, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to raise this hood up. We're going to disconnect the battery. All you got to do is undo your negative. Usually it's an 11 millimeter or 12 millimeter to disconnect your negative. So we're going to pop this sucker up, and we're going to go ahead and disconnect that battery first and foremost. Alright, like I said, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect this battery. And you can see I've got some extras on here because of the winch and the lights and everything like that. So, just wiggle this on off, set her to the side. We're good to go. There we go. Battery's disconnected. Now, what we need to do is come over to your fuel rail, which is this right here. This is your fuel rail. Runs right along top of your manifold. It has all your injectors that send fuel down into your piston chambers. There is this little black cap right here. I'm going to pull that off. And there goes my washer reservoir lid. I'm going to toss a rag underneath there. Take a little screwdriver, and there's a little tiny nipple right inside this port. We're just going to push that. We're going to get rid of the fuel. And the reason for that is that really relieves the fuel pressure. Makes it so that when we drop the tank and disconnect the fuel line, we don't have fuel dumping all over the place. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to remove these 4 bolts. These are for your filler neck, for your gas tank. They're just a standard Phillips head, so real easy and nothing to it. So we'll just pull them out and all that good stuff. And once you have these done, then we're going to go ahead and be able to get it down to the tank itself. Alright, so you got your battery disconnected, you relieved the fuel pressure, and you got your filler neck free and ready to be moved away as the tank drops. So now we actually got to get to the tank. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your floor jack, and you're going to position it right underneath here, which is your tank. And right here, if you look, you've got almost just like a perfect circle right there. That is a great spot for your jack to go. So what we're going to do, we're just going to we'll lift the jack up, and I want her to get about right there. Now, I want to show you this real quick. If I bring my jack all the way up, I'm just short of my tank, which isn't all that great. So what you can do is you can take a piece of wood and run it all the way across, because then it gives support, and that'll help you out just a little bit there in getting your jack all the way up. Alright, now that I got my piece of wood in there, I can go ahead and start undoing the bolts to remove this tank. If you look up here, right at the very back, I have a bolt right there, and then another one right there and over here. So 2 sets of 2. Those middle ones you don't want to do because those are your retainer straps. Okay? And then you're going to crawl under the Jeep, and if you look right up there, you've got 2 more. And then all the way over here at the track bar and the exhaust and all that other mess is another one. Okay? And those are the 7 bolts you need to do that you need to remove to get your tank out. They're all 1/2 inch, real easy. And so what I've got is I have a 6-inch extension and a 9-inch extension with a deep well socket. That's to get to the ones on the front side of the tank, and just a 3/8 ratchet. Okay, so as you can see, I have partially dropped the tank, not all the way, and the reason for that is because I want to be able to get back up on top of it. Okay, I know I've already disconnected a couple of these, but you have an electrical connection right here. Here we go. You got an electrical connection right there that you need to undo. It's got a little red retainer. Just take and slide that out of the way, and then you can unplug it. You've got a breather tube which connects to a T right here. You'll need to unplug that, And then lastly, we need to get in here. We need to disconnect our fuel line right here. A lot of guys like to do it at the pump. You can do that after you drop it. The reason you want to do it here first is because if you drop the tank down low enough to do it at the pump itself, then you risk bending the outlet tube, and that can crack it, and you'll have a fuel leak after you button it all back up. This is just a compression fitting, so you can just squeeze it and then pull it off, okay? It's pretty easy. You just squeeze both sides of the little plastic retainer clip, and then the whole thing will pull right off. It's real simple. And that'll disconnect your fuel line. I've got a bucket underneath here because you're gonna get a little bit of fuel leaking out, but it shouldn't be too much. Just be ready for that, okay? Big thing with this is just be careful because you are working with fuel. It is a volatile liquid, so any spark or anything like that can set it off, including just the fumes. So be real careful with that as you're doing all this. Alright, so as you can see, I now have the fuel line disconnected. Really simple, real easy. This is that little plastic clip. Like I said, all you do is you press in on these, and then the actual fuel line itself the soft line will disconnect from it, and then you'll just plug it back in later. So now, with that free, we can actually drop this tank out all the way. Alright, so she's out, and this plastic ring right here, it's a retainer ring. This can be a real pain in the butt to deal with. Easiest way, get a nice big flathead screwdriver. You're just going to put the blade of it right up against one of these little risers on it. Take a soft blow hammer. Just give her a few hits. And she will work her way loose. As you can see, it takes a little bit, but once you get her loose enough, voila, there she is. You just take that off, set her to the side, and now out comes the pump. There she is. Nice and pretty, but it's not working. So what I'm going to do is if you buy the whole pump assembly, it will come with a wire connection. Just got to remove this fuel line off, which again is just two little compression fittings. Just squeeze them and the whole thing comes right off. Real easy. And we'll put the new one in. Alright, so we got the pump out. So now I'm going to take and remove the old seal ring. A lot of guys, they think that you can just reuse these. That's actually not the case, because what happens is, like if I look at this one pretty carefully, like right here, I've got a wrinkle in it, and so what that's going to do is that's going to allow fumes to escape and all that kind of stuff, and you know, you really don't want that. It's just a bad thing to have happen. So you're going to want to replace this ring as well. The new fuel pump assembly should come with a new seal. If it doesn't, you can just buy the seal as well. Alright, so took the new ring, put it in, and it just sits on the inside groove of this. And what you're going to do is you want to take just a little bit of motor oil, and you're going to take it on your finger and just do the entire seal with that motor oil. That'll help the pump slide onto it perfectly, make it so you don't get any wrinkles or anything like that. And then you know, you don't have to worry about the oil in your fuel. There's so little oil on this that even if any does get into your fuel, it's not going to hurt your motor in any way, shape, or form. But this prevents your seal from either ripping or just wrinkling up when you put the pump in and when you put that retainer ring back on. So you want to make sure you do that. That's a really important step in this whole process. Alright, so I've already put my fuel line onto the new pump. This is ready to go in. I've got my filter on the bottom of it, and I got my floater. So I'm just going to take my floater and kind of work it and the filter down into the tank. You want to be real careful. You don't want to lose that filter off the bottom of it, because then you're going to have to go in and go fishing. So now we can just take this and very gently get her set on there. Now you notice she's not dropping all the way in, and that's the seal. That's a good thing. What you want to make sure of is that you take and position your pump properly. Alright, so we've got her set up in the right position. Seal looks good. Let's go ahead and get this sucker down in here. It's going to take and very easily get her inside that seal. Just work her down in there. There we go. Okay. Now we can do this blasted thing again. Work her over the lines. Get her down on there. I'll be honest, this is kind of the pain of getting those threads lined up. But once you do, it's a lot easier. I'll admit, it's easier without this hose on here to get it lined up. But once you get her on there, it's not too bad. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact opposite of what we did when we put it on, and that is we'll take and tighten it using that screwdriver and that hammer. Because otherwise you'll never get it tight enough to actually set that seal down properly. And she's got to be tight. So once that's done, we'll be able to put her back up into the vehicle. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the tank lifted up partially, and the reason for that is because I want to go ahead and connect everything up. What you want to do at this point is once you have everything connected, take and reconnect your battery, turn your key to the accessory that'll pressurize your fuel line. That will let you see if there's any leaks or not. And I have none, so I'm ready to bolt this thing up the rest of the way. And what I'm going to do is as I raise it, I'm going to take and just make sure I have clearance for all these hoses, and then I'll bolt it back up. Alright, she's in. All I got to do is finish putting on the rest of the nuts. I've got one on each end of the back and one on the front just to hold her in place while I was getting it all lined up and everything. And then after I get those nuts put on, I'll reconnect my fill tube. Super easy right there. Reconnect the battery, put the cap back on the pressure line, and that's it. That is how you change out the fuel pump on a 97 to 06 Jeep Wrangler TJ. So hope you guys enjoyed it, hope it helped, and have fun out there, and I'll see you in the next do it yourself.